Hey, it's your teacher Jay, Mr. J, Professor Jay Johnson, and I'm back. And today we're going to be doing the 5th grade standard where we're converting decimals to fractions. So I hope you guys, if you were a 4th grade student and you just saw my video, you clicked over, I hope you guys got that. You want to learn a little bit more. If you're a 5th grade student or 6th grade student and you're just tuning in, I'm glad that you're here. If you guys are doing well or if you're not doing well, please let me know. You can hit me in the questions link below. If you're not my student, make sure you put your email address if you'd like me to respond back to you. I hope you guys are doing well. I know this is a crazy time, but here we go. When we're changing decimals to fractions, it's pretty straightforward, and I'll put a link right below this. If you were changing fractions to decimals, we already have a video for that as well. But if you're changing decimals to fractions, it's a pretty straightforward process. We're gonna look at some of these decimals here, 5/10, and we'll maybe look at 81/100s. And just at the start, we'll also look at 362/100s, okay? Let's take a look at this first one here, 362/100s. The strategy for this is gonna be pretty simple. You're just gonna go ahead and put these into a place value chart like so. You'll put your decimal place here, our ones place is here, tenths place, hundredths place, and we know the next thing is the thousandths place, okay? So when we see these here, 362 thousandths is how you say that. It ends in the thousandths place, which lets me know that if I'm writing it as a fraction, I'm gonna have 1,000 as my denominator, and then I'll have 362 here. That's pretty straightforward. I just wanted to show you that. That's the basic strategy no matter which way you look at it. But for these other ones, for the rest of this video, we're gonna also talk about simplifying the numbers once they are fractions, okay? So we have 5/10 as our first one here. We go ahead and put this here into a place value chart. That will let us know it's tenths for absolute certain. We see, yes, we got 5/10. I'll go ahead and translate that. That's gonna be 10 here, and then we'll have a 5 there. The question is, how do I change this into a simplified number if it can be simplified? Well, that's pretty straightforward. What we're gonna do is we're gonna try to see if there's any number we can divide into 5 and into 10. There's a lot of ways to do this, a lot of strategies to do this, okay? But the one we're gonna stick with today is simple multiplication facts. So what do I multiply 5 times to get to 10? I multiply 5 times 2. Can 2 go into 5 and into 10? No, it cannot. But 5, which is the other number in that problem, can go into 5 and it can go into 10. So we'll divide this by 5 and 5. Now, again, this isn't like pure division when you think about dividing fractions, right? You're in 5th grade, so you know when you divide a fraction, you keep change flip, and you multiply, right? It doesn't exactly work like that. When we're doing this, we're literally trying to simplify the number. I have another video where I talked a little bit about this, but basically 5/5 is the same thing as the number 1, right? Because if the denominator is the same as the numerator, the value is actually 1. And we know that if we divide anything, for example, if we take 5 and we divide it by 1, it gives us the same thing, right? So that principle, which is called the multiplicative value of 1, that principle is applied here as well. I have 5/5, so if I divide 5/10 by 5/5, the value will be the same as this over here, and I'll give you an example in just a minute. But we divide it just like that. 5 divided by 5 is going to give me 1, and 10 divided by 5 is going to give me 2. I cannot simplify this and make it any simpler than 1/2. There's no other number that I could use to make that any simpler, so I will leave it as 1/2, and that would be my answer if I simplified that fraction. The way that I know this to be true, just real quick, the way I know this is to be true is if I were to take 1/2, just like so, shade it in like this, and then ask myself, well, would that be the same value if I turn this into tenths? We'll take a look. I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. That will give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I actually have 5 of the 10 shaded. and I can see very clearly that the value, which is the shaded amount, never changed, and I got 5/10. So that lets me know that these are equivalent fractions. If you need to learn how to make equivalent fractions, there is a video for that. I'll put the link below this. But this is an equivalent fraction. So when they ask you to simplify, they want you to find an equivalent fraction that is a little simpler than the one that you ended up with. So 5/10 can be simplified into 1/2. Another way to think about that one in particular, when I think about 5/10, is if we were to think about this. We know money, right? 50 cents is equal to half of a dollar. So that is another way to think about that, okay? There's 100 cents inside of a dollar. So 50 cents would be half. So let's take a look at this next one. We have 81 hundredths. If we wanted to write this as a fraction, we would say that's 0 tenths, hundredths. If we wrote this as a fraction, we have 81 hundredths. So we write 81 hundredths. When we set it, it ended in the hundredths place. We write it, it ends in the hundredths place. Is there any number that divides evenly into 81 and into 100? You can think about that for a while. The one that you would normally think about is 9 going into 81. 9 does go into 81 very easily, but the question is, does 9 also go into 100? If you do the math, you'll find out, no, it does not evenly. So that means that this is simplified as much as it can be. So we'll move on to the next one. So I'll give you 2 more, and I'll just put these up and see if you can come up with the answer to them first, and give you a little pause, and that way you can try to figure them out for yourself. So we have this one here, 25 hundredths, and then we have this one here, which is 7/10, or we could write it as 70 hundredths, but we'll put 7/10 there. If we wrote these as a fraction, could we simplify them? Write them as a fraction, then simplify them. Go ahead and do that. I'll pause. This is a good opportunity for you to pause the video, try them yourself. And you can check your answers. Here we go. Okay, and we're back. Here we go. 25 hundredths. We wrote this as a fraction. We see this. That's 0 tenths, hundredths place. This is going to be 25 hundredths. Now, pretty simple one. Does 25 is there a number I can multiply to go into 25 and 100? This is simple, but it could also not be, right? So I could have 25, multiply that times 4, and try to think about it like that. In that case, I would say, well, 4 doesn't go in there evenly, but 5 definitely does. There's 2 things you can do here. I know 5 goes into 25 5 times. 5 also goes into 100 20 times. So I could end up with the fraction 5/20. But is that the simplest form? It actually is not. So whenever you're trying to do this and come up with the simplest form, you want to, even if you did this, you want to take a look at the second step to make sure that's the simplest form. This is not the simplest form, because even though I did divided by 5/5 here to get this answer, I could also take this one and divide this by 5 again. Now that would have given me 1/4, because 5 times 4 gives me 20, and 5 times 1 gives me the 5. But here's the deal. If I ever get to a position where I say 5, and I use the 5 again, or a 5 and maybe there's a different number, whenever I use it twice, that means that I missed an opportunity, more than likely. I missed an opportunity that was there a little bit earlier. So if I would go back, and if you got 1/4, that is correct, but there's another way we could have gotten it. We could have said, okay, well, 25 and 100, I could divide this whole thing by 25, right? 25 divided by 25 gives me 1. 100 divided by 25 gives me 4. Now that has to do with sometimes just familiarity, of the numbers. I know 25 and 100 are divisible because they have to do with money, right? 1/4, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, 4 quarters. Oh, okay, 1/4. There's 4 quarters in a dollar. 25 is 1/4 of a dollar. So I could see that there, but and some people can do it with more complex numbers. But the reality is, what I did was I tried to find the greatest common factor there and then get that here. You can do it in multiple steps, or you can do it in one step just like that if you know the math, okay? Second thing here, we have 7/10. Now 7/10 will be right here. I'm just gonna skip a couple of steps. 7/10 is gonna be written just like so. There's nothing here that's gonna be simplifiable. So we have 7/10. Simplifiable, I don't know if that's a word, but if you got this and you got the other one right, congratulations. If there's anything I can do for you, please write me in the questions link below. I hope that video was helpful.